Quick shout out to my patrons. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible, so thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey y'all, it's Kate from Literary Apothecary, and today we're going to be talking about The Seventh Cadence by Jim Wilbourne. This book was so good. This is book 1 in the Continua Chronicles series, and Jim and I became friends on Discord amongst a whole bunch of Discords, and since then we've been talking about the book in this series, and I think we're going to have some collab videos coming out, talking more literary style about different books, but this book was so good. Jim did such a fantastic job with this book. You could tell he put a lot of thought and love and care into writing this book and really took his time writing it. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. Very, very nearly 5. In just a minute, I'll talk about why it wasn't quite a 5-star book for me. But let's first talk about this book as a whole. A quick summary. This is an action-packed epic fantasy, and I've actually taken the summary straight from Goodreads because I felt like it encapsulated everything that you needed to know about this book going in perfectly, better than I could do myself. Usually I'll take the Goodreads summary or Amazon summary and I'll kind of paraphrase it, summarize it, pick different things that I want out in my own words, but this one was just too good not to do. So this is straight from Goodreads, and I'll have the link in the description below. After a supernatural and unforeseen calamity shatters the tentative alliance of the 5 realms, the Dezeran Dominion has returned to take back their homeland and restore their oppressive regime. As the Dominion readies their troops for invasion, the fate of the entire world rests in the hands of a fugitive scientist, a powerful pacifist, and an unseasoned prince, with little to guide them but their own ideals. With the freedom of a kingdom at risk, each must find their place in a world torn asunder. The Seventh Cadence is a sweeping high fantasy epic of war, found family, and reckoning with fate. And that, I feel like, just summarizes the entire book so well. I couldn't not put in the entire thing. So, like I said, I gave this 4.5, nearly 5 stars. What I liked about it so much, the characters were fantastic. They felt like they were realistic characters. Obviously they're in a fantasy world, so they're not real life, but they felt like if we lived in this fantasy world, they'd be real characters, if that makes sense. Found family, you guys know that's one of my favorite tropes of all literature, and we have some great found family in here throughout a lot of different levels, and I just love seeing that come to play. World building. Jim does a fantastic job building his world in just this first book, so you understand exactly what's at stake, exactly what they're playing for, what they're fighting for, who's on what side, where we're going with this, and why we need an entire series for this instead of just a standalone or even a trilogy. It's action-packed. I love it when a book is action-packed. There's breaks that are needed in here from the action, but it's so action-packed that you're never bored reading this book. And then finally, what didn't work, I'm going to rephrase this and say why I gave this 4.5 and not 5 stars. Why this wasn't a 5-star book for me was because sometimes it was hard to follow along with the point of view jumps. Mostly at the beginning in the first half of the book, we've got a lot of points of view jumps. They're all within the same characters, but it happens frequently, and sometimes it happened without warning, or if I wasn't paying close enough attention, we're all of a sudden in a different point of view, and I had to reacclimate myself to that character's point of view before I could understand what was going on in the prose. So that might just be a me problem with shifting point of views, because it certainly got easier to follow along as the book went along, and by the end, the last couple of chapters, I was expecting it. But it did throw me at the beginning a little bit, so that's why I gave it 4.5 and not 5 stars. But with that rating, this was still one of my favorite books I've read this year. This was a self-pub book, an indie pubbed book, and I believe it's free on Kindle Unlimited. So y'all, if you have not read The Seventh Cadence by Jim Wilbourne, Go and read it now. You will not regret it. It's absolutely fantastic, and I'm hoping sometime soon to have a live show with Jim to discuss this book and the series and his writing process and everything that goes along, because there's so much to talk about. But I'm gonna leave it here for now, because this is a spoiler-free review. Like I said, truly enjoyed this reading. The only reason why I wanted it to be over was so I can move on to more books that I love. But this book I will reread at some point. 4.5, very nearly 5 stars. One of my favorite reads this year. Everyone go out and read it. Seventh Cadence by Jim Wilbourne. That's it for now. Like I said, as always, my Patreon, my Discord information will be in the description below. If you love this book as much as I did, come talk to me in Discord about it, because I need to talk to people about it. Keep reading, and I love y'all to the moon and back. Bye.